Hello, good morning and welcome to the Copy Run Live. It is I think we're at episode 289, which is, I've got to tell you guys, I know I say this regularly, but it's really actually freaking mind-blowing. Don't you think? Like 289 episodes of this is really amazing. So thank you so much for being on this journey with me. Thank you for doing all of the things. I'm really grateful, and I really love, hey Joe, I really love the the comments and the interaction and the emails and the messages that I get from you guys that tell me when you're telling me about how important this is. It's really funny. I actually had a lady say to me while I was away that she was going back and re-listening to some of the old episodes because she wanted the Nicola crack in her day, the little bit of Nicola motivation in her day to keep her moving forward. It was really lovely actually to hear that. So thank you. I love you. You're all really amazing, and I really don't take this lightly. And one of the things that I wanted to talk with you about today is actually about vulnerability. And the thing I think that where I was going with that is, like, I don't take this responsibility or your attention for granted. I think it's a real, like, you guys are really busy, right? You've always got things on, and I really appreciate and love the fact that I'm able to help you and to be of service. So before I get stuck into today's session, if there are things that you have got questions for, if there's things that you want me to talk about, then please make sure you let me know, rather than me sitting here thinking that, I know that I'm in your heads a lot of the time, but I really also love being able to create the content and tell the stories and share the things that are helpful to you without me having to imagine that they're helpful. So thank you in advance. Okay, let's get that shaken off. All right. So I guess where the vulnerability piece came in is that, my heart swells with gratitude and humbleness and just love and joy when I get to do this type of stuff. Like I was saying to somebody, I think it might have been yesterday or this morning, I can't remember, I did a 5 o'clock training session today. It might have even have been on then. At different various times, I've found myself in a place where I'm like, this is not working for me. Not so much now. Like, I'm happy as a pig in shit. And one of my friends actually said that she's really seen this year that I'm just kind of like back to being the Nicola, or not the back to being the Nicola online that she remembers me being actually in person. So, I take that really, that's really beautiful. But there have been times where, things just haven't kind of worked. And I know that I've shared with you guys reasonably publicly that I've been, like, I work through anxiety in different ways, shapes and forms, and at different times. Sometimes it's really obvious what is creating and triggering it. Hey, Kelsey. Hi, good morning, good afternoon. I hope you're awesome. And I guess, like, the thing here is, like, it kind of begs the question of how much are we supposed to share? It's actually a question that I get asked a lot, because I know, like, we are not, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, as people who are in the business of helping other people, we are not unscarred, right, from life, from this journey, from whatever. There are things that we have gone through. We've been, for much of us, it's been this trial by fire, where we've had to go through different things in various different ways because of various different things and reasons that have happened. And I think the thing that we get really great at is really stepping up and kind of trying to be the people that we really need to be, which is really honorable and absolutely necessary. And when I start talking about vulnerability, I'm not saying that I want you to actually get out onto the online world when you are a puddle on the floor, right? It is inappropriate on every level for you to be airing your dirty laundry if you are trying to gain significance, if you're trying to gain engagement, right? We don't want to use vulnerability in that way, because then it actually becomes like manipulation, right? And that is never, ever, ever okay. Where vulnerability has its place is when you're sharing your stories and you're sharing your message and you're sharing your experiences in a way that helps other people go, oh my God, this person, like they get me, they're similar to me, they like me, they've been through some things similar. And if they've been through those things, then you know what, they're going to be able to help me get to where it is that I'm going and things like that. So, I guess some things that I can use as an example for my own personal experience is like there have been days in the last couple of years, or actually probably the last 18 months, more so, maybe even the last 12 months more specifically, not even in the last 6 months, but in that first 6 months of the last 12 months, there was some times where I'm just like, I can't, I don't even feel like I can function. I don't feel like I can be the person, the vibrant, I know that I'm vibrant, like the vibrant, motivating, inspiring version of me that I love being every day. I didn't feel like I was able to, every day, to be able to get up and turn that on and just kind of flick the switch. And so through therapy, through my coaches, through my mentors, like through all the different areas that I've gained this help, I've been able to kind of get back out and do the things that I need to do. So, but, I've still had days where I'm a puddle on the floor, like in the fetal position, crying my heart out, just for whatever reason that I haven't been able to do what it was that I felt like I'm here to do. And I think that's probably for me, the thing that's created the most angst throughout this journey of growing a business. It's like, you know what, I just want to freaking help the people. I just want to do the thing that I'm here to do. And when I felt like I haven't been able to do that, that's the thing that creates the tension, which is just a made up story in my head, right? It's like, you can always turn on a live stream. We can always go out and share a message. But where it becomes inappropriate is if you're sharing this story about maybe being a puddle on the floor while you're being a puddle on the floor, that, your audience is not your therapist. I just ran a webinar just before this, and it was like a 90-minute masterclass. It was fun. I was loving it. And one of the things that I said in there is like, it's really important for our audience to feel like it's okay for them to be them, that actually experiencing setbacks, experiencing slowdowns, experiencing plateaus, feeling anxious, it's all very normal. It's a normal part of being a high achiever. You don't have to experience all of this, but if you have experienced this, then you're normal. It's okay. I know you're very different, you're amazing and all of that kind of stuff, but it's actually really normal when we're feeling like things aren't moving like quite maybe fast enough, or the momentum's not building fast enough, that we get really fucking impatient, and then somehow we make that about ourselves. It's inappropriate though to get up there and start airing those grievances online while you're in it. The thing that you've always got to do with your stories, with your sharing, is that we've got to remember that it's okay and it's appropriate to share your stuff once you're on the other side of it. Okay? When you're in the puddle, that's when you share it with your mentor. That's when you share it with your therapist. So the next question usually is, well, like, how do I know what things to share from a place of vulnerability? Maybe you don't want to be sharing stuff about your relationship. Maybe you don't want to be sharing stuff about your money. Maybe you don't want to be sharing stuff about your health. And I guess this is where the thing that I'm really an advocate for is that you guys, you've got to know who your audience is. Who are you talking to? So for instance, like I know, like we've got Joe, you're watching at the moment. And if I was sitting here thinking, okay, so I'm feeling really pulled and called to share something really vulnerable today, where, and maybe it's not even a conscious thought. It might just come out of your mouth when you're doing a live stream or when you're writing a blog. But if you're in that kind of moment and you're like, okay, I feel like I've got to share this, and then you go, okay, so what does Joe need to hear today? Kelsey's commented, what does Kelsey need to hear today? What does Carol need to hear today? What does Brenda need to hear today? What does Charlie need to hear today? Because if you think about it in that way, and if the stories that you're telling are really appropriate and poignant and help them to take a step forward, then it's okay to share it. I mean, there's different things, for example, where I'll talk about, not very often actually in here, but I talk a little bit about social anxiety. And I know what it's like sometimes. For sometimes people sitting on the other side looking in, like on the outside looking in, you might say, oh, but, yeah, and this has actually happened. I actually suffer. I deal with a fair amount of social anxiety. Now, if it's my event, no problem. If it's my people, no problem. If it's about me being like who I need to be for you guys, no problem at all. Like I can turn it on, I can flick a switch, no problem at all. But where if I'm like roller derby is a really great example actually. So in the roller derby community, we'll go and play for the day, and then usually there's like we'll go to a pub or something like that afterwards, and I get a little bit like, ooh. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to make sure that Siri's talking to me. I want to make sure I'm having really good conversations. I really want to connect with these people. And I kind of get like, and there's no way I would go in there on my own. I just wouldn't do it. So I find that creates like this whole thing. And it's interesting because I haven't really spoken to very many people about that over the years. And I'm actually the same if I'm an attendee at an event, if I'm there to learn, or, I'm not connected to any of the presenters or whatever, I get really nervous stepping into there because I'm like, oh gosh, it's just, I don't know, it's just like this thing. And so what I do is I kind of like sit on the edges and I'll take it all in, and I will push myself out of my comfort zone if and when, oh my God, my watch. I will push myself out of my comfort zone in various different ways to make it happen. But I think where, I can get myself really kind of worked up about it, which is silly, right? And so when before, it's like people will often say, oh, really? But you're so confident. You're so out there. You're so this, you're so that. Yes, I might be, but I'm also very much human. And, I do find it really hard if it's, I find it really hard not all the time, but some of the times I can find it a little bit challenging. I've said that many times. I need to change my language. Note to self, change my language around this. So I guess like the thing that comes up then is, and I was chatting to some people from roller derby actually about this, and it's really funny because we were all having the same feelings. So I just said, like, I was like, oh my God, this kind of stresses me out a little bit, you guys. And one of the other ladies said, oh my gosh, I have this same thing too. And then another one was like, oh my God, I have this same thing too. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So by me sharing my story and my insecurities, essentially, from that real place of vulnerability, I learned that there were other people out there like me, and it made me feel a whole lot better. So when you're out there and you're like, okay, I really need to share this, I really feel like somebody needs to hear this today, do it from a place of being really resourceful, right? Because your audience is not your therapist. So that is that for today. So the other piece that I want you to think about from when we're thinking about our stories and what we should share, and that's really what it's about. And sometimes there'll be vulnerable stories, other times there'll be motivation stories or inspiration stories, or, you know what, guys, you just need to do this, like just get out there and do this, like the Nicola kick, whatever it is. So I think the thing that you've also got to be thinking about is what are the main things that you help your people with? Right? So maybe it's content. And I know that for a lot of people when they're creating content, one of the big stumbling blocks is, what if no one comments? What if no one likes? What if nobody reads it? What if I'm going and spending this time creating content and nobody buys? All of that kind of stuff. So I might share a story that relates into that kind of set of problems or fears. And then maybe another one is, I don't want to seem like an idiot. I don't want to sound like an idiot. So maybe that's something that's going on. So there might be a story where I share, you know what, I actually really was an idiot. And you know what, at the end of the day, it didn't even matter. Yeah. And then maybe another one is about something else. And then depending on what the main problems are that you're helping your people with, your audience with, think about the stories that you can share. Now, they need to be true stories. Okay, the stories that you share need to be true stories, or they need to be metaphors, and it needs to be really clear the difference between both. So I'll talk often about my history of performance. I will often talk about my history with music. I will often talk about my history of being on stage. I will often talk about, mindset stuff, because I know mindset is super crucial and critical. So what things are you able to tell? What stories are you able to share in order to help move your people forward? And that's really the key. So there you go, everybody. Short, sharp, and shiny today. Remember, vulnerability absolutely has its place, but not when it's untrue. right? Because otherwise you're just lying to your audience, and that then becomes manipulation. If it's a metaphor where, you might talk about learning to drive a car, you might talk about, building muscle at the gym, you might talk about the importance of conversations, the importance of networking, whatever it is for you. You can talk into some metaphors. So just understand the difference. And if it's a metaphor that you're sharing, say, it's a little bit like, when you do this or when this happened. Whereas a vulnerability story, you've really got to own it. And you say, this is what happened to me and this is what I did to move through. I trust that that's making all of the sense for you. All right. Hey, Thelma. Great to see you. All right. So on that note, I am going to love you and leave you and set you free about the rest of your Friday or your Thursday evening if you are in the US there. If you're in London, it's probably about time for you to be sleeping right now. So have an amazing afternoon. Have a really great weekend. It is really fun and being back in the land of Oz. We have got the national tour coming up and kicking off next Sunday in Melbourne, and I am very, very excited. If you need to be there, and I actually think that everyone should be there. I think I know I've been running this event regularly all year, and it is just freaking amazing. It's epic. You get your whole year of content mapped out and planned for you, but in a way that's going to have you standing out, being seen as being very, very different from anyone else, standing out as being the most amazing and unique person that you are. So if you need to secure your tickets, if you have not already, you can do that here. Now, if you can't get in the room, like the physical room, for whatever reason, you can join me for the virtual. So we're also doing a virtual event towards the end of November, which is actually going to be exactly the same content. We're going to go through the exact same activities. It's just that we're going to be online versus being in a physical room. So you'll see that on the page there as well. Someone said, yes, I'm going. I can't wait. Me too. I will see you in just over a week. It is going to be very, very fabulous. All right, my friends, have a really great and amazing afternoon. Have a wonderful and beautiful weekend. I can't wait to talk with you really soon. Remember, it is time for you to get yourself out there, get your message out there, because the world is ready for your brand of awesomeness. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.